Hello and welcome to ELT Maestro tutorial. My name is Z, and in this tutorial, I will talk about what's inside the VM. So let's take a look at the architecture. Inside the VM architecture, we have different components. The web service, which communicates with client, and different components of Spark. ELT Maestro Spark service provides metadata like column names, data types, and so on. Audit database that stores runtime information of the workflows. ELT Maestro Spark engine, which actually translates the workflow into Spark code. The VM also contains Spark master and worker running as a cluster on a single node architecture. Let's start the VM and get IP address. For that, open Virtualbox, select Maestro Spark 1.0, click Start. This will take a couple of minutes to get a login prompt. Login as root. Welcome123 is the password. Let's get the IP address. Run if config. 10.0.0.13 is my IP address. Replace that IP address with your ifconfig output. Let's log in as Maestro. For that, su space hyphen space Maestro. If I run command who am I, it shows the user Maestro. Let's quickly look at HDFS or Hadoop file system. For that, let's run Hadoop ls command. Hadoop fs-ls space /. So these are the root folders on HDFS, locally on Maestro server. I can even list out contents of specific folder like person. Person is a schema. There are other folders within person. Let me look at person/person. Now let's take a look at Spark Master. For that, go to your web browser, put the IP address of the virtual machine :8050. That's the Spark Master port. This is where you can see Spark applications. There is already one application called DWH. This is the Spark Thrift server running on the back end. If you replace the port 8050 with 8051, that shows you a worker is running. Since this is a single server with a single master and a single worker within the same VM, we only have one Spark cluster with one node. Now let's run DBeaver and take a look at some of the tables. Now the tables on DBeaver here are actually the folder path on Hadoop file system. So for example, if I show you the output of ls command on person/person, that would mean there is an external table on DBeaver, person_person. ELT Maestro on the background automatically creates a table with the folder path and replaces / with underscore and creates that table. So what this means is ELT Maestro automatically creates external table on Thrift database, which is what DBeaver connects to, and that database points to the folder path that ELT Maestro loaded using Spark workflow. So when ELT Maestro loads data to Hadoop, say /person/person, it created an external table person_person on Thrift database. This is useful during development process so that SQL clients like DBeaver can connect to Thrift server to preview and analyze the data. Now let's open ELT Maestro Client and create a workflow. Change the server IP address to the output of ifconfig command, port 8181, integrator, password integrator123, login. Click pencil icon to create a workflow. Job type, Spark SQL. Let's give it a name, test workflow. Target platform connection, ELTM Spark driver. Click OK. So here you can customize Spark submit arguments here. By default, driver memory is 2 gigabytes, executor memory is 2 gigabytes. I'm going to change the number of cores to 4. Click OK. This will create a workflow with that configuration. This is a ELT Maestro workflow window here. Let's drag and drop a data frame object. Double click, browse. We're browsing Hadoop file system path here. You can select any of these schemas. I'm going to select person. Click OK. The metadata is loaded here. You can also click preview to see some sample data. Click OK. Let me drag another object here, Spark Data Cache. Basically, this is a cache function of a data frame. Let's select disk only, save. Let's select drag and drop another data frame object. Connect those two. Here I can browse to a specific folder. Let me browse to transit. It's empty. Let me give one folder name here, data_out. Click refresh button to load the column names. Click OK. OK. Leave that at truncate. Click OK. So this is a simple workflow where I want to read a path, person, and save that to data out. Save. OK. Run workflow. OK. Run. Sometimes when the workflow runs too fast, it doesn't update the GUI. So here I can see check marks on these 3 steps. That means it completed successfully. Let's look at run history. Click run history tab, refresh. This job took about 30-ish seconds to complete. Last console output, refresh, provides you logging information about the job. When I go back to Designer, when the log is checked, these buttons appear. If I click on the check button, there are 19,000 rows which were cast. Let's take a look at data out. Truncate true, truncate. So that would mean there should be a data out folder on Hadoop file system. If I go back to HDFS and run Hadoop fs-ls/transit. I see a folder called data out. The contents of data out are two Parquet files. Now let me go back to DBeaver. Here, I don't have transit table here. Right-click tables, refresh. Scroll down. There's a transit table here. Double-click, preview data. ELT Maestro automatically created an external table pointing to that folder path on a Hadoop file system, and it also ran the workflow. Now let's take a look at the Spark cluster. For that, open Chrome. On your browser, type the IP address of the host :8050. So I have one completed application with the name test workflow. This is the same workflow that I ran earlier using ELT Maestro. You can also find more information about application ID, any log messages there on the cluster, and so on. So ELT Maestro does on the back end convert the graphical workflow into Spark code. Thank you. If you need any help, email us at zdave@maestro-analytics.com.